And everyone loves a great underdog story. And coming up next, we have one of the best underdog stories of the 80s. Today's rookie artist went through hell and back to get to the top. First of all, she lost her voice because of a collapsed vocal cord. Doctors told her she would never sing again. And then she got sued for $80,000, which today would be like $250,000. This forced her to declare bankruptcy, and it left her destitute. But she just kept going. She finally got a break with a label, but they didn't believe in her songs. They pushed her to do cover songs from other artists, even though she was a great songwriter herself. So after recording a bunch of covers, she rebelled, and she wrote a song with another up-and-coming artist that came from her TV guide, and also from an annoying alarm clock. It kept malfunctioning. It would go off in her apartment all the time. She got so mad she smashed it against the wall. She threw it in the shower, but it just kept ticking away. But that ticking sound inspired one of the greatest #1 hits ever. It became the most covered song of the decade, and it was so good her producer wouldn't let anybody near the studio when she was working on it for fear someone would steal it. Up next, I have the co-writer to tell the story, and it's a great one. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. So it's time for another edition of our series Revelations, where artists take us for a deep dive into their greatest songs and albums, information and stories you won't find anywhere else. Today we get an in-depth look into one of the greatest standards of the 80s. It hit #1 in '84 and has amassed more cover versions than any other song from the decade. And we have an interview with the co-writer and the co-singer on this song. I'm talking about the ultra-hypnotic and bittersweet masterpiece, Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper faced insurmountable odds when she was trying to make it. She was fired from her first band, and then she started a band of her own called Flyer. During this time, Cyndi could only afford cheap PA systems, and so she could never hear herself sing. So she opted just to sing louder and louder. Without any vocal training, her voice became hoarse after every show. She'd start with a full vocal range and then completely use it by the night's end. This pattern led to Cyndi losing her voice for good, or so she thought at the time. She said, "I was devastated and so scared because I had to stop singing for 2 months. I couldn't talk. I had to write everything down." In the meantime, Flyer moved on and hired another vocalist. But Cyndi, she wouldn't give up. I mean, she visited with doctors, and she learned that one of her vocal cords had collapsed. She was told that singing rock and roll would be impossible going forward. So she got a second opinion, and then a third. The consensus was she needed to stop singing altogether. But Cyndi wasn't about to give up. Looking back on those days, she said, and I quote, "I wanted to use my voice that way because when I sang, there was something in me that was bigger than me. And I somehow had to learn how to use what was inside without wrecking the outside. I just had to find a way to fix and maintain it." So with time and patience, Cyndi followed a strict regimen and she began to heal her voice. Slowly over the course of a year, Cyndi's grittier voice came back and she was able to hit those notes and sing the way she wanted to. So after reclaiming her voice, she formed the 50s-style rockabilly band Blue Angel. Cyndi, with her now renewed superhuman vocal range, her high-energy stage presence, and her penchant for unusual attire, captured audiences whenever she took the spotlight. Unfortunately, Blue Angel's debut album was a commercial failure, and then everything went downhill after that. This is where Blue Angel had a falling out with their manager, and they fired him, and he came back with an $80,000 lawsuit. Cyndi just wanted to stop the madness, so she filed for bankruptcy, and then Blue Angel officially disbanded. All through the 70s and the early 80s, she had battled to find her voice and really her identity. By fighting through all of it, she had discovered she had a powerful message to share. She took a break to get centered, and then she started recording her first solo album, She's So Unusual. Now, this was in the summer of '83. As she put together the album, Portrait Records, her record label, they tried to take control, and they wanted her just to do cover songs. A lot of people don't think about this, but the album is a lot of covers. Open with the Brain signature song, Money Changes Everything. Money changes everything. Other covers were, Jules Shear's All Through the Night, Robert Hazard's 1979 single Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and then Prince's When You Were Mine. Oh. course, Cyndi made them her very own, but was an unceasing fight for her to direct how the album should be cut. Time After Time was Cyndi's second single, and it became her first #1 hit. Lauper wrote it with Rob Hyman, who also sang backup. Hyman was in a band with Eric Bazilian and Rick Chertoff, but Rick took a staff producer job at Columbia Records, and Rob and Eric formed the Hooters. Since Cyndi lost her musicians when Blue Angel broke up, Rick suggested that she hire Rob and Eric. Talking about Rob, Cyndi said, and I quote, "There was a sweetness about him. I felt I could show him poetry. We were both going through similar things with our relationships. He was just coming out of one that was long and hard, and my relationship was having some bumps as well." End of quote. So coming up, I'm going to let them tell you the story. We have interviews with those two members of the Hooters, Rob Hyman, who co-wrote and duetted with Cyndi on the song, and Eric Bazilian on Time After Time.
You picture me, I'm walking too far.
Time After Time, Cyndi's first #1 hit, the second single out of the box. You also sang backup as kind of a duet during the chorus there.
Unwind. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.
Tell me about this song.
You know, it was years ago, but I think we all remember it kind of clearly because we had worked for months with Cyndi, doing the demos in Philly, doing the recording in New York, and we're like at the tail end, really at the very end. And back to Rick, who's this stubborn, tenacious guy, like who keeps pushing us, and we're like, Rick, we're spent, you know, we're out of ideas. And he came in one day and said, "It sounds great, we're really on our way, but," there's always a but, and in this case it was, "But we could use one more song," and it literally was. That's the story of it. It was, the door was closing on the project. We could use one more, and we sat in the studio one night at a piano and just threw around some ideas. And Cyndi, one thing we clearly remember, Cyndi came in with the title. She came in with it was a title of a movie from a TV guide, for those that remember the TV listings in a little magazine you'd get.
It was the H.G. Wells, Mary Steenburgen, and Malcolm McDowell,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. Malcolm McDowell, the time travel thing.
Time After Time.
I have to go back and watch it again. I think we saw it long ago. Anyway, she said, "Time After Time." I started playing it at the piano, just the hook. Time after time.
Time after time. If you fall, I will get.
But it was a much more up-tempo, a little bit of a ska reggae-ness to it, a little bouncier. And then over time, it slowed down and became what it was. And then we were like right into the studio. And I always tell people what's amazing about that is the record is the demo. We didn't do a demo, whereas all the other songs we have demoed to death and then some. But this one was okay, and Rick heard it in progress, and Eric, and it was kind of like, let's try this and let's add that. And again, the Juno keyboard was the basic pad, that synth sound. And Eric plays guitars, and it was just go right to the multi-track. This was on a 24-track. Those were the days of tape. And that's the demo. The record you hear was all almost first takes. And her vocal, which is an incredible vocal, really. I still listen. I still hear a little. You can get under the microscope with her with that kind of vocal, where every little thing in her throat is right there. And I think it was a first or second take.
One night, almost left behind.
The harmony was a reference that we did, and they said, "Yeah, let's keep that." It was really like we were going fast because we had to.
So I'll be waiting. Time after time.
So that was another gift. I became quick. Eric played the guitars. Rick was like, keep going. And that was it.
If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.
So that was a moment for me because they played me their first draft of the song, and there were actually two titles that Cyndi had gotten from TV Guide. The other one was Vertigo, which I got. We actually did.
And you two stole.
there was for 5 minutes a song called Vertigo. It was totally forgettable. But the first time they played me their first draft, Time After Time, I was It's the first time in my life that I knew I was hearing something that we were going to hear for the rest of our lives.
Wow.
You know, I had a feeling when we wrote All You Zombies, when we wrote And We Danced, you know, these are really, really good songs and we've done something really special here. But, you know, is the world going to, will these be unforgettable, timeless evergreens? But time after time was like, congratulations, you just wrote yesterday.
All my troubles seem so far away. Time after time, if you fall, I will catch.
You both were going through kind of similar things in relationships. I know that she had kind of a bumpy relationship at the moment, and sometimes when you're going through those things, those obviously it comes out in the art.
Yeah, well, it did. And it was the first song we ever wrote together. You know, we had been together for a while with working on all the other material, and she was really pushing to write as well on the album. That was there was some tension and a push and pull there because Rick came in and with, you know, I'm going to get great songs for this great singer. And she was like, she wanted to write more. And Rick was really like, well, let's get, and he was right about that. I mean, he had Girls and All Through the Night, and then She Bop came along as well. There were so many classic songs on there. But she was pushing to write, so that was part of the thing. When he opened the door and said, hey, we could use one more, he didn't have one in his back pocket, you know, so it was kind of up to us to come up with that. And it was, we sat and really was, we had known each other now for months, but it was the first thing we wrote. And it's also, there is trust. And even with me and Eric, or all our collaborations, we've done a lot of it. And everybody brings something else to that. And it is a vulnerable thing because you make a suggestion and we have an expression, dare to suck, which is basically, here's a thought and it might be horrible and it may well suck, but
Right.
But if I don't get it out, you know, so that's a big mantra for us. And I think that it started during Joan Osborne's album, I forget, but it was like, dare to suck. And that's our, you know, let's have t-shirts with that because that's part of the process is, here's an idea. And then you fight for your idea. And if you know, then there's maybe more tension because someone has another idea and is your idea the best idea? You know, you have to check your ego. On the other hand, you like music, it's such an intangible thing. You know what you like. You know what moves you, and if you feel the riff or the chord or the vocal, whatever, you're going to really, you know, try to get that territory. And for us, we were going so fast, you know, we had support from Eric and Rick, and everyone was like, and Bill Whitman, who engineered it, who also was, you know, not an unsung hero, but he did an incredible job, and John and Yale, the engineers, they're both great. We've gone on to do tons of stuff with us and other acts. And the sound of the record, the sound of each part, it wasn't an accident. I mean, we really worked on those things as well. And that's trust too. Like, okay, Eric, here you go. Make this part, like his guitar on that stuff, and then the keyboards, and everything works together. Lyrically, the same thing. We were kind of sharing some emotions that we were going through, and she was going through that with her manager at the time. And, you know, the video as well really caught that emotion. I mean, she's crying at the end of the video. It's just like, that's real. That's Cyndi. And that's what we were all looking for.
Time after time.
I would sit at the piano, and she would kind of just channel things and dance around and write things in her notebook, and she had her style and her look. It was well on its way. So she had that personality, and I was just kind of like the piano player here. But then it morphed into what it became, and it was really a team effort at that point. And then again, at the very end of the record, which is another mantra we live by. We're doing it right now while we're in Eric's studio. We're trying to work on some new material. He's going to Sweden in 2 days, and it's the 11th hour. You know, it's that deadline. You have that term. His daughter is writing a term paper for school. You know, you have that final tomorrow. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I better crack open the book. And we're there too, like, oh, we have weeks to finish this, or we have days to finish it, and then all of a sudden, no, we have hours. Like, we got to finish it now. And sometimes that's when the good shit happens.
It's true.
Often.
Well, taking lyrics from conversations too, I love that feel as I've read about it that you referred to Suitcase of Memories. And she thought that was a really cool line. And then lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick. She had that clock thing going on. Tell me about that.
Well, that's a secondhand story that from her, but she was with her manager in their loft bed or something in their apartment. She had this big alarm clock that she would hear, ticking and was keeping her up. And one day it fell and smashed or whatever. And then she would have to put it in the bathroom and close the door. And so she was lying in the bed hearing the clock tick.
And it did unwind. The second hand did actually. It would get up to the end of the minute, and then it would fall down.
I think it would go back. So she said second hand unwinds. There are those images, they come and you just put them in there. It was poetry. It was image that we were sharing. Exactly.
New case of memories. That's a great line too. Did that just kind of come out as you were trying to think of lyrics, or was it just?
Yeah, I'm sure there's notebooks. Sadly, we've been looking for even demos or like Walkman demos. We didn't record a demo, but we would record our ideas back in the day on a Walkman, and we had a little, notepads, and we were just shooting phrases out, and there were pictures, and I think there were simple pictures, and it's another song too with mystery. It's kind of, is it happy? Is it sad? Or is it a breakup? Is it, and it was really all of those. I mean, there's a breakup element to it, and it's just a bittersweet moment that was caught, and caught quickly for us. We were lucky.
Case of memories, time after.
Well, when that started to come out, I read that you guys started to figure out that this is going to be a bittersweet song, a little more poignant, as you said. That kind of started as a reggae thing, and the song started to transform and almost present itself to you. This is who I am.
Yeah, well, the mood showed itself. I think it started with that pad and the Eric's guitars, and then it's real open, and there's a lot of space in there. I mean, the pad kind of goes the whole way. And hypnotic is the word. It's one of those records you're just in a sonic space. You're in a world of this stereo chorus keyboard and guitars, and there's not a lot going on either. It's a really simple song, actually. I think that's another reason.
Yeah, I have the multi-track of it, and I think we used half of the 24 tracks.
Gosh.
I mean, like when Doves Cry, there's no bass until the chorus. The chorus comes, there's a synth bass, but you don't miss it.
Yeah, because a lot of the other songs, especially Girls and All Through the Night, they were very layered. There's lots of keyboards, Casio sounds, all these funky little things that we liked, toy pianos, and the synth sounds. I think it summed up our experience too, because that was what it was like making the record. we were working hard, and it wasn't easy, and there were tense moments, to be honest. Like any in any artistic project or collaboration, we're all fighting for our ideas and trying to leave the ego behind. But it wasn't. It was hard for everybody. It was new territory.
If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.
And I think especially when the video, because Cyndi also, MTV happened, so that was such a big part of the 80s.
Right.
And she was so perfect for that.
Time after time, if you fall, I will catch you.
And you look at the video, and the video it's kind of that, just what you're describing. You can see some good times in her relationship, and then you see her getting on the train, and off she goes.
Gone, yeah.
And it's like there's the
have her mom in it and her real boyfriend at the time. I think that probably made it even more dramatic.
She kept it real that way. Yep. Exactly. I think her mom was in a lot of her videos, actually, and she's very close. The whole family thing was really close to her, and she had that vision too. So, because video, as soon as you go to a video and you kind of say, okay, this is what the song's about, that's dangerous in its own way, because then you have that image in your mind, and sometimes you can't separate the song from the video. And hopefully it's a good one, because otherwise You know, if it's a good video or a good song and not such a good video, you're kind of stuck with that image.
What would you say 40 years later, what you think about this song, Time After Time?
I wouldn't change a note.
Oh man, such a great song. Time After Time is truly one of the greatest songs of all time. Leave us a comment about this amazing song, about Cyndi Lauper, about She's So Unusual. What are your memories of the song? What do you think in terms of where does Cyndi Lauper rank in the 80s of all-time great females through that time? I think she's up there for sure. And of course, Cyndi Lauper just got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She deserves it. She's had such an incredible career. Let's celebrate Cyndi below. Let's have a great discussion. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, Records and the Truth.